Welcome to the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. Whether inside or outside the loop, we are talking everything soccer in Houston. Y'all ready? Let's get it. Houston, welcome to another episode of the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. My name is Rudy Segura, and I am glad you are here. I am sorry that you are here expecting better news. I'm telling you, I was telling Chris before we got on here that hell, even just writing anything Dynamo gives you bad luck. I dropped like my soda on top of all my equipment up here. So I've been just cleaning away all the mess that I did as kind of what we're hoping from the team. But I'm not alone. As I mentioned, Cristian Putalias is here with me. What's up, Chris? How you doing?
Hello. How's it going, everyone? How you doing, Rudy? Doing all right, man. I guess as good as we could be, right?
As we can. I mean, we try to stay positive here. I don't think we're necessarily overly positive. And tonight is probably not going to be one of those nights, and that's okay. But also joining us, and he'll be in here in and out, I guess. Edson Ochoa is joining us as well. Man, Edson, how you been, brother?
I've been great, man. Ross Chastain got a top 10 finish at Martinsville, and so I'm really happy. Oh wait, we're talking about the Dynamo. This is a Dynamo podcast, right?
Right.
Well,
everything.
No.
Well, in that case, yeah, it was a terrible week. Not only with Dynamo, but also Tigres getting slaughtered by America, and it could have been 4-0. So yeah, soccer related, yeah, was not a good weekend for me.
I'm on the same boat. Boca literally lost as the Dynamo were losing too. So me and my dad were both on the couch watching different games, both suffering at the same time.
Double whammy too, though.
We were like, bro, we suck.
And
in
I think
multiple countries.
Chivas lost to Cruz Azul as well, and I couldn't tell you if it was Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember. It's too much pain, man. It's too much pain.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be Monterrey, but
yeah, that is true.
That is true.
It could be much worse. But man, again, we're trying to stay upbeat. I know that our listeners and our followers that love the Houston Dynamo are kind of tired of hearing us say the same things over and over as. And but unfortunately, this is the life we live, right? Deja vu every single weekend, it seems that way, guys. But yeah, tough match. I mean, we did not assume anything else. I know, Christian, you were on the optimistic side of things, thinking, maybe a win. Even Joey Stats, who usually is a bit of a negative as well, was thinking, this is the road match that the Dynamo could get some big 3 points, being that Portland has been hot or cold. But granted, that was not to be. Start with just that, Chris, with your overall thoughts on the match, or kind of like what you expected when you saw the starting 11 for the team.
It was. I'm not gonna say I was surprised, right? Because we know what Ben Olsen has been doing. Taking out Aliu, kind of bringing in this 4-10 situation going on with Kowalczyk, Bassi, Lodeiro, and Jack McGlynn. Obviously, still trying to figure the team out. When it comes to the defense, it's obviously everybody's injured, so it's one of those things that you just kind of play who you got, and it's just a mess, right? And it was what it was. But you thought that maybe, coming out of a 0-0 in Seattle, kind of feeling yourself a little bit. It's like, oh, we're still on the road. We're going to another difficult place, which is Portland, which didn't seem as difficult as Columbus or Seattle, right? At least, this year so far. So it just kind of gave you a little glimpse of hope. But all the glimpse of hope just came and went with the rain, right, of Portland.
Yeah.
And that was that.
Yeah, I found it interesting that, previewing the match and talking to Ben, he just mentioned how Portland, it's a tough place to go and play at Providence Park as we know it. It's one of those mythical places. I mean, there's like an aura to it. Obviously the atmosphere is something that you don't see here in the States often, right? I mean, there's some places that you just have that. Apart from the fans, obviously you have the field being, turf, hard field. Yeah. He mentioned about 99% rain, which that was like dead on, right? So you had this combination and them being a good team, right? That's something that he mentioned before the game. And going into the match, as soon as you saw those variables kind of going in Portland's way, you really thought it was going to be a really long night. And you see the score line, you see 3-1. It'd be easy to say, fire the coach, fire this guy, fire that and that. But the game was not necessarily a 3-1 game. It could have been either a 1-1 draw. It could have been a 6-1 loss for the Dynamo. So it was a little bit of everywhere. But the goals themselves were not something that the goalkeeper could do anything about. Right? They shoot themselves in the foot. I think they're kept. The big issue here that I saw with the Dynamo against Portland, they were just so far high, trying to keep possession, but they were rushing some of those passes. And before their teammate was in the area that they needed to be, they were forced passes, which would lead to counterattacks, and that's how they got a couple of those goals. And unfortunately, the very first one, there's not a lot that Daniel can do. He's kind of moving back, kind of slips a little, and obviously leaves the ball perfectly for Felipe Mora to take that first goal. Nothing the goalie can do there, right? Then they are able to tie it up. Jack McGlynn, off a set piece, like 6 minutes after the first goal, ties it up. It looks like the Dynamo are back in it because, again, they had been playing well. We'll talk about the overall stats when it comes to possession and all that good stuff, but it's one of those that I feel McGlynn is not comfortable yet with the role he is given. He's definitely struggling, and you can see him get lost at times. And the way that the setup is, and Edson, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about just the type of players that we're seeing, but you see three guys that are identical to me. When it's Kovalchik, when it's Basi, when it's Nico. You have three exact players. They all play the same. They get in the way, and there's really nothing that you can do to stretch the game wide. Whether, again, we were talking about Aliou, but another winger in general, right? And you look at the bench doesn't help much, right, Edson? Like, you're just looking at bodies out there at this point, man.
I think the problem is that you have too many people with similar characteristics that they get in each other's way. Even if on paper they're playing different positions, their tendency tends to do things similar. And so there's a lot of disorganization on the attack. Their confidence is really, really low, and they're making really, really dumb mistakes where they're trying to force a pass when there really is no viable option to do so. And it's kind of frustrating because their inefficiencies up in front are magnified by the fact that in the back line, we have no speed. I'm looking at the highlights right now. Yeah. And a lot of the highlights for Portland are counterattacks led by Mora out on their right side.
And the Dynamo chasing.
And the Dynamo are chasing them. I'm not talking chasing like, oh, they're at least maybe like 2 bodies away. No, we're looking like they're way behind. And it's just ridiculous how you're seeing this, that Portland is beating you in speed, number one. Number two, it's not the only team that's beaten you with speed and defeated your back line just due to speed alone.
Right.
You had Dallas do that. I want to say as well, Inter Miami as well.
Yes.
I mean,
and yet
Luis
somehow,
Suarez
and yet, yeah, and it wasn't with Luis Suarez. It wasn't physical speed. It was mental speed that put them in those positions.
Absolutely right.
So you have a back line that has with Awudesu, who is still relatively inexperienced at the highest levels. You've got Steres, who is a rotation player. You've got Escobar, who is coming off of an injury. So you technically don't have a back line that's 100%. But what do? You put him on a high line. You know damn well that they're going to beat you with speed, and yet you don't move it. You don't make any adjustments to avoid that kind of danger from Portland Timbers.
Yep.
The players keep on making the same dumb mistakes, the same dumb.
I think that's it. Right there, the players keep doing the same mistakes. You can see the frustration of Ben Olsen. You're right. Maybe by the second goal, the lines should start coming back. Play a little bit more of I guess give them a little bit more space so you don't get crushed on the wing by who's doing all that work. It was Anthony that scored 2 goals, and then I believe it was Santiago on the other side, Moreno, doing a lot of that work, man. But
that's another thing, or Genesis. That's another thing. How many times did we talk about when we brought in when it was announced that I don't know why I'm blanking out. Jack McGlynn. Oh, he has a tendency. He's going to be one of those players going to shoot from outside the box. I don't know if it's a system thing with Ben Olsen, or it's just that the players don't want to do it, which I highly doubt, because we saw in the first game against Dallas, Jack McGlynn attempt something and hit the post, so we know that he can do it.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to shoot from outside the box. You know that there's going to be teams. They're going to be hunching it down, almost parking the bus in the back, not giving you space inside the box to look for Ponce, to look for Kowalczyk, to look for Lodeiro. There's 2 ways, and I've said it in another episode before. There's 2 ways to break apart a defense when you've got like 2 lines of 4. In other words, somebody's parking the bus.
Right.
You either go for 1-2 passing, or you shoot from outside the box. You have players that can shoot from outside the box. Why they don't shoot, I cannot tell you. I'm not there inside the locker room. I can't tell you if it's Ben Olsen that tells them, no, you have to try to find, a pass inside the box, or try to find this player, or try to find this player, or if it's just that the player's confidence is at an all-time no, that they feel like, oh, if I shoot and it doesn't go in, I'm going to get flamed, whether by coach, whether by his teammates, whether by the fans as well. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of things in this Dynamo team that really need to get fixed. Honestly, because it is highly ridiculous how when we were going into this season, we had a lot of high hopes. We as in within here in the podcast.
This is the 3rd year. Well, it was the 3rd year. Obviously they kept mentioning from the beginning how the 3rd year was the year to be, right? And then you started losing a bunch of players. You started losing games. It's defeated that hope and that potential that everybody was expecting at the end of the day.
And now it's just a matter of, it's damage control at this point, and they're not even doing a good job at it, right? Because at home they're losing. You had the glimmer of hope that away they've been playing better on the road than they have been playing at home. And now, and with this kind of performance, I was looking at Jack McGlynn's, howler right now for the 3rd goal, and it's one of those things where you really think, like, should a professional player be doing this? I mean, Chris, I'm pretty sure you've seen the video a lot of times of viven en un country. O sea, there's a point, I don't know if you guys have seen the video or not that are watching in the chat, but there's a point where the guy's going on a rant, literally in front of camera, saying how, professional players, have lived the best lives, they
have the best cars, they have the nicest house, they have the most beautiful girl.
But even beyond that, they're like, they sleep like 8 hours.
They have kinesiologists,
They have
the pitch is perfect. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like inflated to like the
perfect pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes like, and yet you still miss a pass to a teammate that's a meter in front of you. It's like, I can expect it from myself with this stomach, but not you. You're a professional. And I feel like a lot of people are really thinking about this right now, and it just leads me to believe. We're going back to last week's episode with Ben Olsen saying, "Well, have you coached a team? Have you ever coached a team in Seattle?" Well. This is the thing, though. You have. You've coached a team in Seattle. You've coached a team in Portland multiple times. And yet somehow and as far as that's coach. Players have played in Seattle. Players have played in Portland multiple times. Yeah. Players with other teams have won in Portland, have won in Seattle. And somehow when you gel them together within the Dynamo system, they forget how to play. I just don't get it. Now, am I saying we should fire Ben Olsen? No, I don't think so. Because this is the thing, and I was actually thinking about this all day. I do think Ben Olsen has some criticisms that needs to be said, right? But I do also feel that this is the point. I think it's too early to be like, oh, fire Ben Olsen already. Why? Because we've seen Ben Olsen through the quote unquote good. We've seen the Dynamo play better than we have in years before. This beginning of the season is one of the worst seasons that the Dynamo have had in years. Now we need to realize this is where we pay the coaches the big money. Are you able to think? Are you able to manage? Are you able to handle the pressure to get this team out of the rut that we've put ourselves into? If you can do that, then you're worth the big money.
Yeah.
But if after this season and you aren't able to get this team off of this rut, then this is where the seat starts to get warm.
I will add though, and now Chris, you look like you're thinking here. But I will add, I agree with what Edson is saying regarding like how long is the leash basically on Ben, but then we also have to take into account that he comes in the first year, takes the team on to playoffs after however long they weren't in playoffs, like 7 years, right? He wins the U.S. Open Cup final. The year 2, he takes them to playoffs and gets the most points in Dynamo history. Right? All this is good. Yet at the end of the day, the fans are still talking smack about this Ben Olsen. And now when things are getting tough, as you mentioned now, that Ben has done this for 10, well, not at this point, like 13, 14 years, right? As a professional coach. Just being able to never give up, like never letting his team give up and always pushing for playoffs. I mean, the guy has made playoffs like 80% of his career. And that's a good thing because at the end of the day, you get into the playoffs in MLS and it's anyone's game, right? But what can he do that he hasn't done already other than win an MLS Cup, which, I mean, everybody wants it. But this 29 other teams are trying to do the same thing. Now, people are going to start comparing him to like a Peter Vermes that just got let go from Sporting Kansas City. But you look how long he was there. He was there 17 years. We were talking about this. Chris was like, there's some kids that don't even know the MLS, for 17 years type of stuff. Like there's some kids that, yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, with Peter Vermes is a little different because you see how long. I mean, the guy did not win, I don't know, 20 games in a row within 2 years. I mean, something stupid like that. And yeah, you guys have a guy that's been 17 years with a place. Here, Olsen is barely on his third year. And when it looked like they're finally getting it, right? They're doing all this. They lost. You guys forget that they lost to Seattle, a very good Seattle team, in penalties, right? They lost. They drew 2-2 or 0-0, right, on both games. And then they went to penalties in the playoffs, Chris. I can't remember if it was 0-0. I think it was.
I think it was, 0-0-1-1, but yeah, it was something.
Yeah, and both of them with red cards. Like, it was just a complete different atmosphere, and the guy's still out there having his team trying to get, the win, getting the best out of them. But the team continues to shoot themselves in the foot game after game, and it goes all the way to the last playoffs, man. So it's so annoying, and I feel for Ben. Now, you can tell he's frustrated because every time that he goes into a game, you can see that he does prepare his team well. He does what he needs to do formation-wise. Yet at the same time, now he's looking at the bench and, players like Aliou that was a for sure starter, even with all the faultiness that he brought, now he's not looking at him anymore. So it's interesting the dynamics that we're seeing from Ben as well, because yes, you had four main starters to go out, and you're trying to replace them and create new players to take on those roles. But then you're also seeing him kind of not necessarily pull out his eggs in one basket when it comes to certain players as well. And it's a mixture, man. I don't know. It's an interesting again dynamic happening there, Chris.
Go ahead, Evan. Go ahead.
I just thought to our Genesis. See, this is the thing, though. In theory, the good scenario for any team is to win as many points at home, and you can get by even if you tie. I guess most of the games on the road, you can really get by. The problem is we're not winning at home. That's the biggest problem, and that's what I think frustrates a lot of fans that go to the stadium. Is I mean, I don't see a problem if a coach ends up getting, because where I have a problem is where they prepare a game to just tie, because 9 times out of 10 you prepare for the tie, you're gonna lose. If you go for the win and you get the point, okay, that's perfect, because you always want to strive to do your best. If it doesn't happen, obviously you're at a disadvantage because you're on the road, and obviously they have the home field advantage. So if you get a point, that's perfect, right? Because the problem is, for the most part, the Dynamo have been getting good results on the road. Counting last season and this season so far, but at home is where we're really messing up, and it seems like the Dynamo, and I'm talking in general, not just Ben, not just the players. I'm talking about everybody involved in the technical aspect, have not found a way to alleviate the situation. I mean, it'll be too easy to just say, oh, it's because the fans don't show up, and so there is no home field advantage at the Shell Energy Stadium. I mean, that's a cop out. I think that's a cop out. You could say, okay, that's a little bit of an influence. I agree, but at the end of the day, it should not matter whether you have fans or not, at the stadium. It's how you prepare and how mentally prepared coaches and players are when you play at home, taking advantage of, let's say, atmospheric advantages, the high humidity, the high heat at Shell Energy Stadium. But yet the Dynamo have not been able to take advantage of that. So I mean, it's a whole conundrum of issues that the Dynamo are going through right now. And I think, but the biggest issue that I have is is that a lot of people, even Monday night managers, see these issues, but they haven't been able to find a way to alleviate the situation. And these injuries are not helping at all. Just the fact that we lost so many good players in the offseason, that doesn't help at all either. But it's just, I don't know, as a fan, I would just want to be like, just like, pull my hair and, maybe not punch a wall, but you get the point, just the frustration as a fan. But I also want to see, okay, all right, so what the analytical part of me wants to be like, okay, this is why it could be happening. This is why it could be happening. But 7 times out of 10 for me, my passion just comes up, and it's just frustration at this point. I don't want to be like a person that just wants to be like everybody out, blah blah blah. I want to let them work, right? Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens.
And I want to disagree with our Hennessy's, because he says that there were both a bad Columbus and a bad Seattle. First of all, it's definitely not a bad Columbus. They're pretty high on the table. They actually haven't lost a game this season in MLS. And Sounders, yeah, they're injured, but I mean, it's still a Sounders team that no matter what, they played. They're out there playing, especially at home. I don't agree that those were bad results. Now, Portland, just because people remember the Mauro Manotas gig and a few times that I think Dorsey last year or 2 years ago scored the Braves, the Dynamo beat them there. I think they get Savarese fired in one of those matches. It's not, every season is different, and to an extent, I agree with what a lot of things Edson is saying. As a fan, if it's just me, of course I'm angry that my team hasn't won a game right in 6 games, and that they've lost 3 of those at home too. It's not fun. And now, we named this podcast, Can It Get Worse? It can get worse. Now they have LAFC coming on Saturday. Then obviously, and if you look at down the schedule, which we try to take it 1 week at a time, but they'll pile up. I think there's not an easy win. It is MLS. Anybody can beat anybody. But to Edson's point, if you are not taking care of those home matches, right? You would expect maybe the Dallas, in a way, was a fluke with the mishaps and how it ended in goals. You did the same thing with Inter Miami, but I mean, Inter Miami still put some, out of this world goals as well. As you mentioned, Edson, with that golazo that who was the guy, the Argentina guy that scored the goal from outside the box? I can't think of his name.
Wasn't it Campana?
No.
Okay, let me tell you right now.
There's a white guy, no? Tatum?
Yeah, it's a light skinned dude. I can't think of his name.
Let me tell you, it was Segovia.
Allende. Yeah, and I mean, Allende puts a goal out of this world that no one's gonna save, right? But then mentally, as you mentioned, players like Luis Suarez, the guy is like in his wheelchair, in 70% of the week, before he goes into training, and he's beating these guys just by where he places those balls. And the Dynamo are finding the chemistry. I understand. If you guys remember, and again, it's hard to think back, especially when the team continues to lose, but the Dynamo were doing exactly the same thing in years past, but they have somebody to clean them up, and that person was called Mikael. Mikael was cleaning up every error that happened. There's many times that it was just the attacking player against the goalie, and somehow Mikael got out there and just beat everybody.
And sometimes even Clark.
Yeah, and I was going to go. Even Clark did that. And to the point of, this game in particular against the Timbers could have gotten out of hand. How many saves did Blake not have that could have easily been 3-4 more goals? And the poor dude got kneed in the head. I'm surprised to let him play. You can seriously see that he got a concussion. There's no way about it. Obviously, he got up pretty fast, so the medical team didn't get in there in time. But even after he got hit, he still saved that one shot that with his toe, and they called a goal kick. And it was like, bro, are you kidding me? Like, this cat was playing his mind off. So, I was doing the ratings for this game, and I was trying to, I watched the game back. I looked at it with a cold head, and I was like, man, you can't really give a lot of grief to the goalkeeper when those goals, there was nothing he could do about it. I mean, they're point blank. There's really nothing he can do. Yet the ones that were difficult for him to do anything, he was able to find a way to scrap those. And Chris, man, you're thinking, dude, like, this is your time to talk. Whatever we were going to talk about, man, let it out.
No, I mean, I'm kind of on the same train of thought that Edson has. I kind of want to put myself in the shoes of Ben Olsen, right? And also in a sense, this morning, I was asking you guys, how long is the leash for Ben Olsen, right? What is there a number of game that if he doesn't win, maybe they start thinking about it, maybe the head doesn't start rolling, but we're prepping the machine, whatever, the guillotine, like, man. We're filing the blade, and like we're getting ready for it. But then also you have to look at, the whole Asher Pat situation. How much is for them to, like, how much blame do they deserve, right? They're in charge of putting the team together. They're in charge of bringing players. They're in charge of moving players in and out, right? So if there's a possibility of Mikael, what was your contingent? Ooh, that's a tough word. Contingency. That what was your plan? Awodesu? With all due respect to Awodesu, I like the kid. I think he's a great pro. I've been watching his YouTube channel. Shout out to him. He's been kind of showing you what he does, how to stay in as a pro. He's learning. He kind of shows you the video that he watches to kind of show what he should do better and da. But I think he's still green. Obviously, there's no better way to learn than actually being on the field and playing. I completely understand this, right? And there's also no other options, right? But and I don't want to camp on him because he did a great job.
I think that's good because what you're trying to say though is the fact that yes, he's getting opportunities. He's not necessarily shitting the bed, right? Yeah. But you will expect somebody obviously you've been used to seeing Mikhail, you've been used to seeing Vincenzo, so you want
Yeah.
somebody of their level, and it's
Yeah.
understandable at this
And
point.
then and then just some like decisions like okay, so that happens, right? And then obviously the wingers, obviously the injuries happen. There's nothing you can't control those things, right? You bring in Ali, you bring Quinones, and they both get injured at the same time, and you're like, well, damn. Like all your goalkeepers go out, and you're like, damn. All your center backs go out, and you're like, damn. And but then if you're going back to Ben Olsen, how much is he to blame? And not only him, but I'm gonna throw the whole staff under there, because you have the coaching staff is four head coaches, four of them, four head coaches are in the staff, and you can't tell me that four coaches can't put an idea together to I don't know, like how many goals has Dynamo scored? Two. Like you can't tell me
Four.
four.
They've scored 4 goals and conceded 11.
Okay, there you go. Obviously, the defensive issue is there, but I mean, 4 goals in 6 games, and some of the goals that were scored were, I mean, 2 set pieces, which brilliant. Shout out to McGlynn and his beautiful foot that he has. But I mean, they're set pieces. They're kind of 50-50. Obviously, you need to have a good service and just a good idea of what you're doing to kind of put it in the back of the net. Obviously, there's still some type of skill for that. And then the other ones were kind of like Ponce going, one-on-one with a defender, in the area and in the air and kind of bringing it down. Like he was making his own luck. But the man, all he does is just chase the ball and run. Yeah, and because there's nothing for him to do.
And
Like,
you have to
there's no
feel bad for
attacking.
him, don't you?
Yeah,
You feel
I
bad for a
completely do,
number
because
10, a striker that is looking for somebody to connect with, and it's not there, man.
and it's funny because I was watching this game, and 30 seconds before Portland scored the second goal, I was like, man, the Dynamo are playing beautifully, like touching the ball, bang, bang, like little triangulaciones, little triangles, 1-2 wall passes, beautiful. But then there was like one too many touches. And that's where the Kowalczyk goal came. Like one too many touches. He tried to lay it off to McGlynn, I think it was, and it was just one too many. And like Edson saying, what like where is the rush to get either into the box or take a shot? Like there is no urgency. There's no urgency to attack. And I understand this is probably, it has to be a Ben thing. It has to be. There's no other reason that this idea of like, okay, we're gonna play around the box. We're not gonna go inside the box. We're gonna play around, and whoever has the best shot, the best idea, the best touch.
It is kind of, because even Ben at the post game, he mentions how he was frustrated that it seemed like the team was just rushing instead of giving an extra pass or opening it up or making somebody go, do that run on behind. It wasn't happening. But I think my observation as well is sometimes that they don't have urgency is they were taking the shots when they weren't supposed to take shots. And a lot of, and this is happened specifically with McGlynn. He's the guy that I don't know if his windup is just too damn slow. Like he's
a slow player.
He takes forever to take a shot.
Slow.
By the time he shoots, there's a guy in front of him, and it usually becomes a defensive, block that ends up in a counter attack. And we saw that against Dallas. We saw it here against Portland as well. And whenever, and we know that this is simple math. Take away the soccer, right? If all your guys are closer to the box, and if you lose that ball, you're completely out of position, man, and the numbers are always going to be against you. And that's exactly what happened, is specifically in this game against Timbers. You saw how it was so easy, give it out wide to Anthony, and it was 3 against 2 every single time. And two of those ended up in goals. And then the other one was McGlynn saying, here you go, sir, go score a third one and take this, get those 3 points at home, brother. Edson?
So my question is then, is it a factor of that our offense is, once they get to 3/4 of the field, do they have like a mind block? Where
it
it's
like
because it's like because it's like you mentioned right now, is like when the Dynamo get on a groove.
Have you guys watched Severance? This feels like a Severance moment. So like what happens is like they get into an elevator and they go and they completely forget what the hell they're at, basically. And that's That's kind of what's happening there, Edson. That's the
Yeah,
moment as it's happening right there.
yeah, because it's like once they get to outside the box, it's like they go on a blank, and they're like, okay, what do
No.
I do now? What do I do now? Do I pass it to him? Do I pass it to her? Do I shoot? And it's like, and with McGlynn, unfortunately, it's like that's my question as well, though. It's like, because it seems like the team, just based on the names that were brought in, you know, into this season, it's almost like when we play FIFA and now EAFC, where at least in my case, this is how I would play career mode back when I was teen or something. I would grab the best player from the league, and put him on my team. But just because they were the best player in my league doesn't necessarily mean that they were going to fit into the way I played, which is like, if you guys ever watched me play FIFA back in the day, I was very possession based. I was very Tuca style kind of thing. Pass the ball.
Barcelona, tiki taka.
Not at first touch, but at least it's trying to maintain possession. But it always happens, because it happens to me as well. It's like once I would get to outside the box, I would zone out in FIFA. And it's like I would always wonder, like, okay, well, I thought this player was going to be fast, or I thought this player was going to, to try to get me an advantage. But the problem is that I wasn't able to use their quality to the biggest advantage. Now, do you feel, and this is a question to both of you, and this is a question to the chat, do you feel then that some of these players that we have gotten, because they're not terrible players on paper, do you feel that this is a system, this is a situation where they haven't been able to fit into Ben Olsen's system? Because we already saw it with Sebas Ferreira. He wasn't able to fit into the system to the point that Ben Olsen was like, well, I don't want this player, because he doesn't come down and help defend, But because it just surprises me how much people talked good about Jack McGlynn, and he is such a good prospect. And yet somehow with the Dynamo, it's like we haven't been able to gel all of these new pieces together out in the attack to get a different result than we've been getting before with Hector Herrera, with Coco Carrasquilla, and even further back, when we had other players that were honestly terrible on the attack. So I don't know what it is. I was hopefully, I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna let Chris, what's it called, answer that question. But let me, since I just saw the word, then we're flying, man. We're almost at 40 minutes. Let me just do a quick house cleaning stuff, or let me go mention for you guys to follow all our social media accounts at Bayou City Soccer. That's Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and, apart from following us, hit that little bell so you're able to get notifications on when we go live, like today's show. Apart from that, obviously the main thing too for you guys is check out BayouCitySoccer.net. You get every single article that goes on our social medias as well. So just make sure you go out there, read up about the team. If you have any questions, man, anytime, feel free to reach out to us. If we're doing something good, let us know. If we're doing something bad, let us know how we can improve. We really appreciate that. And if you are listening on the podcast, next day, do please leave a review. I'm definitely challenge you guys that do listen to the podcast. Give us a review, make it 5 stars if possible, but feel free as well to give us, your what do you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. It goes a long way. It really does. And then to finish off, obviously, Ugly Guppy, check them out. Ugly Guppy hooked us up with more gear. Edson, I'm gonna have a shirt for you, man, and a hat for you here in the future. We got some new ones from Ugly Guppy. They do a fantastic job. So guys, if you need any kind of, printing or embroidering, go, get yourself some shirts with Carlos Aguilar and his team. They'll hook you up, and they do really, really good work. And Elotes Bravos as well. Make sure that, when you go out to Shell Energy Stadium, stop by, get yourself a cup of elote, a cup of corn. It's really good. Can't really say much other than it's really good corn, man. But yeah, feel free to reach out to them. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you also have any questions on how they can help you and stuff like that. Chris, I'll let you kind of think it through. I know that from the beginning, I'll say this: you have always been questioning Jack McGlynn and how he's doing, and I mean, righteously so. I mean, I think from the get go, we said kind of what Edson was saying, that his potential is high. This guy's 22, 23. But it would be a big step to take over Hector Herrera's spot, with all the accolades that Hector has. But man, the floor is yours. Feel free to talk about that, man.
Yeah, I mean, we we make fun of the term eye test, right? We don't, especially Dustin and Joey, not to kind of throw anything on their way, but they're more analytical, they're more numbers based, and that's just the way that they see the game, which is completely fine because it's a valuable piece as well, right? I mean, the game is changing, the game is evolving, and that's just how it is. But also, in my opinion, there's also that component of not the eye test, but how does a player feel, play? There's so much to the game when it comes to the emotions. Emotionally, where are you in the head? Going into a game where I don't know, like Lodeiro going to Seattle, going to play your next team, or playing a Portland that you hated for so long, type thing, right? There's those storylines and components on the backside that it should give you a plus, or maybe not a plus. Sometimes it just kind of brings you down. I don't know. You're gonna go play turf, and maybe you don't feel comfortable playing turf. Maybe you're Jack McGlynn, and you have to play Seattle and Portland, 2 turf fields, and you're like, ugh, like this is, why am I playing high school again, type thing. And those things, like, even if we don't want to, they are professional soccer players. And yeah, we make fun of them, or not make fun of them, but we criticize them of, like, they should be not perfect, but near perfect, because you get paid to play. And I know you guys don't like when I say it, but it is true, right? Like, they get paid to play, they get paid to be a professional and just try to do things correct most of the time. Mistakes are going to happen. That's just, how it is. But yeah, just the factor of going to 2 turf fields back to back, these guys are not used to that. They're used to playing in grass. And obviously I think that has a factor in it. Obviously they have the advantage. The game plays quicker. Not only is it turf field, but it's wet. Like going into Portland, you should think about these things. I mean, if I thought about it when I played high school, they should know that, right?
I know.
And it should be, like from the coaching staff, like, if we're gonna push forward, let's not leave, an injured player at Escobar that maybe is not 100% yet. And Daniel Steres, with all due respect to Daniel Steres, but he's not, Speedy Gonzalez over here. And then you have a guy that is still kind of green and still growing in Awodesu. What I mean? They literally attacked with 2 guys in one of the goals, and it was 3 or 4 defending, and those 2 guys kind of went through how they wanted in that second goal. And you see that, quickness, that speed that none of the Dynamo players had. When it comes to Jack McGlynn, yes. I mean, honestly, till the day that we signed him, I had no idea who he was, and that's on me because I don't remember names. I don't play FIFA. I don't play Football Manager. I don't know anybody, right, until I see him, and that's fine. That's just the way that I live, and everybody was hyping him up, and I love that. I love when people that know, or like, I value, the opinion of Dustin. I value the opinion of Joey and you guys, because I know if you guys like the player, or you're like, you say, he's good or he's not that good, but we'll see what happens. And I have that in consideration. And McGlynn was goodish. What was that? I think it was the second game. It might have been Columbus. I don't know. I can't remember. But then after that, you're like, he's not that great. He has good passing abilities. He can see a through ball. His vision of the game, you can tell, is a little bit different. He has that little whatever that you need as a great player.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, but I mean, we see it, right? He's just slow, and it's okay, because one of my favorite player ever is Riquelme, and he was the slowest man alive, but the brain was different, right? So it's like, how do you, him knowing that you have a guy that can hit you a 30, his ball switches like across the field are stupendous, like magical. Like, he can hit Dorsey behind the defender. So why not try that? Why not hit Dorsey? Why not get another winger, in my opinion, not alley-oop, but why not get another winger that can? I mean, remember
Yeah.
Coco hitting alley-oop all the time?
Right.
Like, just think outside the box. Not everything has to be a build-up of 50 touches to get to the box and then potentially lose the ball. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just the way that it is
This
in my head.
this thought came up to me right now. What if the difference is that when he was in Philadelphia, he was a player that not a lot of people knew. That he had a lot of better players, than him around him. That kind
The
of
way wasn't on him.
That the focus on the opposing defense were on other players and not on him. What does that mean? It means he has a lot more space and a lot more opportunity to do what he knows, considering his, as you call it, his slowness in his motions. Whereas when the Dynamo, it seems, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, when it was with Aliyu, really nobody really paid attention to Aliyu. Nobody really pays attention to Kowalczyk, because it's players that really under name and under performances overall, they're really not players that are gonna mark a difference, that are gonna really make opposing defenders lose their sleep. Right,
The fillers, yeah,
exactly. Ponce is like, he's gonna be alone. You double mark him or something, he's not gonna do anything, especially if he doesn't get good crossing into the box. You're relying on Griffin Dorsey, that has to run all the way from the back and run all the way to the front, to get those services. At this Houston Dynamo team, Jack McGlynn is the best player in regards to reputation
on paper.
So on paper, exactly. So obviously opposing, and now that other defenders know more about Jack McGlynn and what he does, they valued him from last seasons, and they'll be like, you don't give him space, you're not going to give him an opportunity to do what he does.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking right now.
Yeah.
The tactical is a tactical game. I mean, as much as we want to see the Dynamo play tactically, the other team does the same thing. If we see it that, we're amateurs, imagine people with video and analytics, and I mean, they know.
And that could be, to your point, that could be also why they continue to start Nico Loredo as well, right? Because he's a guy that it's a creative piece. Obviously, he's known, but again, it's one of those guys that you have Basi, Sava, Kowalczyk, and him. They play exactly the same, and there's really nothing that's gonna be developed. You see how slow they are. I mean, for God's sakes, they're like, my grandma could probably beat them in a broken moped. That's right. And my grandma's dead, so
that took a dark turn.
But well, somebody asked about Joey. So Joey's stats, man, I mean, the dude is devoted. He watches every game at least twice. He wasn't able to watch it live, and he was too busy at work to watch it again. So he is smart enough to say, hey, I didn't watch the game. I'm not going to talk out of my ass, because, again, he gives you his best. So he's not here tonight for that, and we give him props for always being on here. And I want to, since we're close to 50 minutes, I want to just take the last 10, 15 minutes to talk a little bit about the expectation against LAFC. But one thing that I do want to hit, it's I keep seeing this, and it annoys the crap out of me, how Ben is too defensive. I never get that from Ben. Is it possession based? Yes.
Yes.
But he's not. There's a big difference. He's not. If you want to talk about defensive, Wilmer Cabrera was the most defensive guy out there, that he would just play everybody back and just kick the ball up. And he had the guys to play counter. And that's the thing, guys, that the players you have is kind of what is going to dictate also what you end up developing, to be honest, man. Edson, you were gonna say something,
and with because with the Dynamo, he was a little bit more defensive on the counterattack. With the Toros, he was a little bit more possession based. He wasn't as very, very defensive. But I remember one time in a press conference with the Toros, it was a quote that kind of irked me, going back with me being a little bit more passionate and not really a knowledgeable person per se as a coach. But he said, he put an analogy saying that the tactical views, whether offensive or defensive, it's kind of like a blanket that's a little bit too small to really cover you. He said, when you build a team, you can be good offensively, but suck defensively.
Like it won't cover your head or your toes.
Exactly. So it's like you can either be good offensively, but you're gonna suck defensively, or you can be good defensively and you're gonna suck offensively. It kind of irked me because I always feel like, why can't we be both?
Yeah.
But I feel like 9 times out of 10 it's like it really is like that. Where offensive based teams, they cover their lack of defensive.
If you're scoring 5 goals and you let in 4, who cares? You won.
Pio Herrera.
Yeah, exactly.
Chingo de goles.
All right, so this game, man, coming on LAFC. LAFC's hurting as well, man. They're in a really bad form. I think they've lost 4 of their 5 last games, which is crazy. I mean,
But they're in Champions League.
They're in Champions League, so they're playing this week.
So they're rotating.
So would you say this is the time for the Dynamo to win? Chris, we'll start with you, man. Hit us up with why they should win this game, and if they don't, what's happening here, man?
I mean, my heart. First of all, I'm a fan, right? Like I'm very loyal to my colors. So in my heart, I think the Dynamo will win, or not. Not I think. I want them to win. And then the reality side of me says they're gonna lose. I don't know. I as much as I hate LAFC and I call them plastic, LAFC is one of those teams that they're always good. It doesn't matter if it's the first team or the second team. It doesn't matter if it's the starters or bench guys. LAFC builds teams for this. They build teams to compete in Champions League, to compete in US Open Cup, to compete in Leagues Cup, to compete in whatever cup. And then they have other teams that can compete in the MLS as well. Yeah. If they needed to. They build for 2 teams, and it's different buildings. Like, you can't really compare LAFC, LA Galaxy money, Miami money, to Dynamo money. We're not a A tier or first tier team. We're one of the bottom ones, and that's just the way that it is. That's why we gotta go and shop in Croatia, and get
Slovakia. I forgot.
Yeah, and get Aliyu and get Bossi and Kovalchik, which
San Marino is next, man.
San Marino would come in.
Hey, they won their first game. They won their first game after a lot of years. Give them credit. They can at this point they can probably be Boca Juniors. Sorry, Chris.
Damn. San Marino the other day, if I'm not mistaken, they were climbing on Chile. Because Chile sucks right now. So I was like, damn, imagine San Marino climbing on Chile.
I said right now, talking about Chile, I saw a funny video that it was like 2 guys ordering like food, and they said like, ¿quiere que le ponga un poco de salsa? And the guy's like, no, lo queremos como Copa Mundial. ¿Cómo? Sin Chile. And it's like, damn, man, poor Chile. Leave Chile alone.
Straight to the heart.
It's pretty good. But no,
yeah.
I just going to the point, LAFC, and I completely had forgotten they're taking Inter Miami and someone named Lionel Messi and friends on Wednesday, and then they play them again. So this is the perfect storm for a Dynamo win, right? In the sense of LAFC hasn't done. I mean, you look at the stats, even with their starter, they haven't done all that great. No. So if you think they're going to come with a B team, then the Dynamo don't take advantage of it, then we're going to come back next Monday and, ask even more questions.
I'm already starting the game.
Dude, start rattling the cages at this point. So I think if we don't predict for the Dynamo to win at home against, obviously a team that needs it in the Dynamo, right? Again, we looked at even the Portland game 3-1. The game wasn't necessarily that. It could have been instantly a draw. It could have been a 6-7-0 loss. But at the end of the day, like, this team hasn't played as bad overall, right? But can the players finally get some freaking, the head out of their asses and make decent passes here, man? And not to the other team, Chris.
Let me say a 30-second criticism before we move on to Edson and LA. The substitutions for Ben Olsen were trash, by the way. He took forever. I mean, the first and only substitution in the beginning was just a switch in the center backs, and then he waited till the third goal to bring in Urso, which is like a more defensive player, and then you bring in with 9 minutes left, you bring in the other two kids, Batioja
Yeah,
and Aliyu. I was like, bro,
yeah.
what was we doing,
I think
Willis?
what ended up happening there was he was planning to bring on like Urso before
He
the
should have.
goal, and the
Well,
goal
yeah,
happens,
and
and he
then
makes the sub is in type
yeah,
of thing, which that sucks. But
yeah,
I
but
agree.
yeah,
The alley part is like, and that's another topic of conversation. What the hell's happening with alley, right? He's completely out of favor. You know
yeah.
what is happening? I have no
It
clue.
happens.
I know you're happy, and it's a lot of people that continue to say
And
alley
well,
army out there, right?
well, because
First off,
that's the thing, though. That's the thing, though. Let me just say also a quick PSA. Like, I'm first of all, I'm loyal to the colors. I'm loyal to the badge, and obviously the players come and go, right? But when my team plays, I support every single player on the field. It doesn't matter if I like him or not. Like, if Aliu's playing, I want him to go. I want him to assist. I want him to score. I want him. That's where my criticism goes. You know, I'm not saying that he obviously is a professional soccer player, and he gets paid to play, right? So I expect a certain amount of something
A
from him.
standard.
And yeah, there has to be at least a minimum, right? And I just wanted the minimum from him. I didn't see it, so I would criticize him. But I do it in good blood. You know, I'm not saying that I hate the guy. I'm not saying I dislike the guy. I just don't like the style or the ganas, whatever the word is.
The effort.
we
Yeah, for the
consider
yeah,
pundits,
but
or that kind of like, is that only whenever it's during the game? Pundits, like what I'm talking about, like.
Oh, the
no,
pundits.
Yeah,
I don't
is
know.
that anyways, but
This is too
I was gonna
American
say
for me.
that's what the pundits are for, right? To be able to like criticize what you're looking at because you're
Yeah.
not lying. It's not like you're saying something that isn't
But,
true.
yeah, but y'all would say foot mob said otherwise. Therefore, I was wrong.
No,
But
but we were a lot of the conversation was like he is the only one doing something in attack. Granted, is it anything happening?
mm,
Are
I
things
call it more
being
stat. I call it more stat padding than
well,
other than anything.
that's my point. But the other guys didn't even have some of that, and that's my
well,
that
but yeah,
was like
but the
the
stats,
correlation.
because
And
you could say that Ponce he has shit stats, but he was the hardest working man in some games, and all
yeah,
he did was run chases the ball after, but
yeah.
he just applied pressure. And that's the thing that some people see, some people don't. Like when you see someone got like Escobar diving with his head, to the floor, you're like, man, I want that from everybody.
For
But
sure.
he does. He probably sucks at passing the ball,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I'd rather him give it away and then go get it with his, with his head, than I don't know, giving 5 passes
No,
that went nowhere.
I 1,000%. And
But yeah,
again, if
sorry.
whenever you're looking at LAU, and obviously you had Denali, you had Nelson, there was guys already over him. I mean, he was already benched beforehand. When Nelson was getting more minutes, so it goes to the same thing about Ben Olsen and not really getting any help from Pat Onstad.
Yeah, that too.
Now they've signed obviously Pablo Ortiz, center back. Who at this point, who knows exactly who will play as they're waiting for their visa stuff. Same thing with the so-called DP10. I mean, he looks solid. He looks like a player that's going to be able to do something different than we're used to. But then you run into the same thing of like, can he do anything else? Whenever
Yeah.
you still have like Kovalchik, when you have Basi, when you have Nicoloredo, you add another 10 into that 10,
Yeah.
depth chart. What can you do if you don't have somebody out wide? I mean, you saw it in
Yeah.
Portland, right? I mean, they have two wingers. They don't even have one. The Dynamo don't even have one right now. And Portland had two guys that are easy to. Ponce gets a lot of crap too. Obviously, he tends to pass the ball back. Blah blah blah. So keep
Yeah.
saying blah 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 now. Towards the end of the show, because I'm
But
falling
also,
asleep.
last thing, also,
Chris,
as a
what's
man,
on your head? I don't know what this means. Chris,
a hat
what's
and
on
headphones.
Chris?
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
at the end of the day, also, I think obviously we, as much as we try to give Ben grace, at the end of the day, he is the manager, and he has to manage whatever the heck he has. I granted he doesn't have a lot, but his cards are shitty. But he's gonna have to, if he's playing poker, you're gonna have to fluff it, or whatever, the bluff it, or
Yeah,
whatever.
bluff.
Yeah. So if you're gonna have to go out there and try to throw the cart, the whole bus, and if anybody else brings a card, throw it back there and too. I mean, I really don't know what to do if I was him. He's obviously doing the best he can, but you have 4 head coaches. There has to be some ideas there. I don't know. It's just frustrating that after 6 games, there's no wins and only 4 goals, and you got scored on like 12 times. And yes, there were a lot of defensive mistakes, and just a lot of like mental mistakes. Like there's at least 4 of them that you were just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
yeah,
But all right, so
wish I did not.
what were you thinking, LAFC?
It's
Win?
I
Lost?
lost for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Edson,
Yeah.
did you give your
Not
you
yet.
know, not yet?
I'm really liking the thinking of investing in paperback companies.
Don't do that, guys. Please don't do that. That's
here comes
No,
embarrassing.
the
but in all seriousness, no, I don't have faith in that this team is going to do a 180 from one week to the next. I'm going to go with 3-0 loss.
All right. And we're
That's
about to
harsh.
get out of here, but you know what? We got somebody joining us here. Joey, we mentioned that you weren't here for a bit, but welcome to the show,
Gentlemen.
my friend.
The
How you
clap, the
been?
clap.
I'm good.
All right, you made it just in time to let us know. Since we don't have another hour for you, brother, but let the people know what you're thinking. When it comes to the LAFC game, dude, do you see any
LAFC
hope
game.
after
Alright.
after them getting defeated by Portland?
Well, I'm getting attacked. Oh my God, they have to win eventually. So, LAFC, they're kind of not that impressive this year.
That's funny.
Yeah, they haven't been that impressive to me this year. So, I mean, it's at home, right?
It's at home. They'll be playing Inter Miami on this Wednesday, and then they'll be playing them again the Wednesday after that.
Okay.
So it'd be a rotated squad, possibly. Obviously, they're trying to get that Champions.
Yeah, hopefully they play Giroud.
Yeah, we can't score. He's the same as Aliu, actually. Yeah, 0 goals.
Yeah,
Look at that.
I mean, I think Ben has to try something different because the playing all the attacking midfielders thing just hasn't worked out. So one of them's got to sit. I would sit Ladero because he, to me, is the worst of the 3, or 4, I guess. And he plays the best off the bench. I like him off the bench. So I would sit him for Aliu in this game. Try something new. And man, I guess I'll go with a draw. I think they could win. I don't think LAFC is, especially if they have some rotation, are so good that the Dynamo just have no chance. But I'm not going to predict a win now until I see it. So I'm going to go with a draw.
The guy that predicted for them to beat Timbers.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
He said it was doable.
I said it was doable. Yeah. I also
predicted it, though.
If you read the prediction, I also said at the end, I said I won't be surprised if Portland.
They get trashed. Yep.
Yeah. Because my point with Portland was they're so hot and cold under Phil Neville. Like they'll have their games where their offense just fucking destroys and they'll just kill teams, and then they have games where their offense just doesn't click, and when the offense doesn't click, their defense just never holds up, and they tend to capitulate.
The people love Joey. Joey never felt so disappointed with his wisdom. That's why we bring him in, even if it's like a 5-minute cameo.
That's why we pay him the big bucks.
But now we have to pay him full price now. Jesus.
You got to pay me $40 an hour. So we don't have Lingard. I wish Lingard was available for this game. Ortiz too would be nice.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get some status updates on them. I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm looking forward to watching Lingard play. He's going to mean a lot to this team.
Hopefully.
And I think that's going to be the question that we'll have next Monday, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the result is, especially I don't expect for Lingard to play this weekend, but once they are available and the team is still playing the same, then that's when you start really questioning: is it Ben's system? Is it Ben? Right? Is it the staff?
How could you say it's Ben's system when 2 years in a row they were very good?
No, absolutely. But I'm talking about like as this new the new players in his lineup. He does modify it some
a little bit.
Exactly.
It's not the same exact system.
Actually, let's finish. Joey, finish with this. Jack McGlynn. Performance so far, bro.
Thoughts
Just
on Jack.
because has he had
He's been
obviously
pretty hit or miss.
yeah.
I've liked a lot of the things Jack McGlynn's done. I would say mostly positive. I think this game, he had an assist. He also had that really bad giveaway. I think overall his game was okay against Pro. I don't think it was awful. It wasn't great either. He was pretty awful against Miami, but the other games he's been pretty. I mean, I think he was the best player on the pitch on either team for the RSL game. He was fantastic in that game.
Yeah, I forgot about that game. That was a good game.
Yeah, that game was definitely not on the midfield. The offense just really struggled to put chances away. I mean, Jack was fantastic in that game. He made an assist as well in that one. Yeah, he's been good. He's not been great. He's not been bad. He's been good. I think maybe it was a little naive of Ben to think that he could walk into this team at his age and experience level and handle being on the ball 100 times a game like Hector Herrera was. We've seen it work. Against Dallas, he was great. He was great against RSL, where he did a lot of touches. We've also seen games like this where sometimes that responsibility kind of gets to him a little bit and he makes some silly decisions because his decision-making is never going to be what Hector Herrera's was, at least at this point in his career. I don't know what Jack McGlynn's going to look like in his mid-30s, but yeah, he's been good. I'm satisfied with him. I'm not over the moon with him, but I'm satisfied with him. We also have to remember he's 21 years old. He's a young player. And talent-wise, I mean, you're gonna have a hard time finding many better passers within Major League Soccer than him, especially when you look at his passing range. I don't know how many people watched his cameo for the United States the other day. He made some really, really nice line-breaking passes into Pulisic and into McKennie. So I'm not worried about Jack. He'll grow into the season.
Joey every week turns he gets closer and closer to Ben. His mannerisms.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried.
Joey's eventually gonna be like, "But have you played Football Manager for so many years?"
Yes.
Oh man, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of Football Manager, I'm so happy they signed Pablo Ortiz because I signed him in Football Manager for the Dynamo like 4 months ago. Yeah, and he played 4 seasons on the team, and he was really damn good.
Look at that.
There you go. Yeah. We just got translated to real
scouting.
life.
Yeah, I think they have somehow linked your FM, pack and see what the hell you're doing.
I've signed Dwayne Holmes as well for the Dynamo and an FM save. I think that was an FM 20. That was COVID year when I no-lifed that game for 7 months. I had Dwayne Holmes with him. I'm excited for Dwayne Holmes. I feel like people are kind of forgetting he exists.
Honestly, I completely forgot about him too because he should be the first one up. I guess available for
Bro,
Ben.
I think Lingard's probably here first.
You think so with the visa thing getting taken care of?
Yeah, because he said like 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, given the performance lately, I feel like as soon as he's available, they're just going to throw him in.
Yeah.
All right. Being able to train with the team before getting the visa figured out, just throw him in.
Yeah.
I can see Ben in his house with calendars, just marking the days. He's
kidding,
like, bro, I'm gonna get a Nali, Quinones, Holmes. I'm gonna get a new center back. I'm gonna get a DP10. He's like, oh my god, I just gotta.
Probably as excited as my kid knowing that his birthday was coming. Like, oh my god, one more day.
You can kind of tell Ben is just waiting for these damn weeks to go by. He's like, man, we just got to get through this.
Yeah, Dago says Jack needs more time. And let's finish up with this. I just want to mention Edson. You can mention whoever said that name right there. But they ain't gonna get me, man.
St. Vergon.
Yeah, there you go. No, I was gonna say he mentions about what Odrev Lingard bring to the team. I would highly suggest that you check out last episode, as Mr. Joey Stats went into full detail on, what to expect from a player of his caliber. As we are pretty excited that he is finally a DP10 that they keep calling. Now we just have to see if it works out. But Chris, great episode. Obviously, Edson, thank you so much for joining us today. Joey, short cameo. We come back with the dog next time as well, my friend.
This isn't even my dog.
Whoever Doug it is, take it with you. Bring in a Monday.
It's not even.
Yeah, it's not even his house because clearly he's on his headphones. But
Yeah,
Chris,
this is
man,
my neighbor's dog.
tell the people how they can connect.
Yeah, guys, BayouCitySoccer.net is a website. At Bayou City Soccer on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. Go to the YouTube channel if you're on it right now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification button so you can get notified when all the podcasts come on. We have 3 podcasts a week, so check those out. But yeah, website. Joey broke into.
Joe, why are you breaking into people's houses, Joey?
That's
I
funny.
just watch your dog.
He just goes.
We're nice guys like that.
Hide your kids, hide your wives, hide your dog.
And your pets.
This dog likes me more than her. So.
And yeah, shout out to Ugly Guppy, Lotus Bravos, and shout out to We Got Soccer as well.
Are we witnessing an actual crime being committed? Yeah, we're seeing the Dynamo steal all kinds of stuff at this point, man.
Brother, they're stealing my patience.
Yeah, anyways, but guys, thank you for joining us, man. I know this is probably, you guys are used to being so hyped every single game. You know, we're still here for that. We're expecting, but hey, you need to gain, what's it called? Little pain, man, to get some gain at this point, brother. But don't forget to hold it down, keep it forever orange, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Peace.
Ciao.